All right, welcome to Tinkerer's Workshop. For those of you who are new to Magic, you can download Magic the Gathering Arena and register for an account. And the game of Magic at its core is pretty simple. You play lands, lands generate mana, and you can use that mana to cast creatures, cast spells, etc. Now, as you play, there's complexities in terms of instant versus sorcery versus creature spell versus colors versus there's quite a bit going on, but it is a fun game. And I'm just going to walk you through this first part of the tutorial. So as soon as you get in and register, you're going to go through this little tutorial and we're going to walk through that together. So play a land and we're going to play one. Good. You don't have enough lands to cast anything. Now, if you see at the top right corner here, there's these mana symbols. So this Shrine Keeper cost me 2 white symbols to cast, which means 2 white mana. So we're going to play another land. And what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called tapping lands. So as you can see, when we turn a land sideways, that means we tap. So as you can see, the mana symbols here, that's the cost to cast. And if we turn these sideways, we can cast the card. So let's do that. So we're going to turn. Um, it has this auto cast, but normally you can click on the lands to tap them for mana. But in MTG Arena, you see if I highlight this, it highlights my 2 planes, and if I just drag it on, it's going to summon this creature. So we're going to have a Shrine Keeper on. So you'll see here there's power and toughness at the bottom. So this creature has 2 power and 2 toughness. So on their first turn in, as you see, creatures cannot attack. They have what's called summoning sickness, which means they're not ready for battle quite yet. So you can play 1 land each turn, as it states here, and we're going to do that. So we'll play our land for the turn, and then we are going to play our second Shrine Keeper. Now, there are things that let you cheat lands into play and play more than 1 land per turn, but when you're beginning out, just think about that land on your turn, and then you cast spells or summon creatures. So after we play these lands and we summon creatures, we can move to what's called the combat phase, and this is where we declare who's going to attack. So this guy just came into the battlefield, so he cannot attack yet, but this guy can, so we're going to click on him, and we're going to say 1 attacker. And you'll see here there's 2 power and 2 toughness. So power is used when you're attacking, and toughness is used when you're taking damage or blocking. So you'll notice now that I hit this other person for 2. So now they're summoning one of their creatures. And now we're going to look at combat with blocks, which is a little interesting. So if we hover the card, we can see that this is a Treetop Warden. It costs 1 of any color and also a green to cast. So you'll see here they tap 2 forests and they have their Treetop Warden in. So let's look at this Loxodon Linebreaker. It costs 2 colorless, so 2 of any mana, and then a white mana source. This is a creature. It's an elephant soldier. And this is just some flavor text here. Loxodons are firm in stature and spirit. No matter the odds, they're always first in the battle. So we're going to put this guy into battle. After we go through what's called our main phase, which was that, we now get to choose who to attack. So we're going to send these 2 guys in. And this person will now have a choice. Are they going to not block them and let the Shrine Keepers hit them for 4? Or are they going to block? So when we declare our attackers, you'll see that our opponent has chosen to block our creature. So now what happens is you're going to see this kind of exchange. So the Treetop Warden is going to deal 2 damage to my creature, and my creature is going to get 2 damage to it. And as you can see, their toughness has both been reduced to 0. So when a creature's toughness goes to 0, they are dead. So you'll see they both disappeared now. Okay, drop their land for turn, and now they're casting a big creature, a 4/4. So that's kind of a problem for us. Oh, there you go. We'll drop our land for turn. The beast will destroy your creatures if you attack now. So what would happen is if I were to attack with this 2/2 and the 3/2, my opponent can choose which of them to block. And what will happen is, let's say they choose to block my Loxodon Linebreaker with their Rumbling Ballast. my Loxodon's going to deal 3 damage to it, which is not enough to kill it because it has 4 toughness. And it is going to deal 4 damage to my Loxodon, which is enough to kill it because my Loxodon only has 2 toughness. So we're going to choose not to attack. So we're going to wait for our opponent to play. They're going to drop a land for turn if they have one. They do not. So here they're saying Feral Roar. Target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. So we have our creature spells, but then we have other non-creature spells. And these can be a multitude of things, but what you are seeing right now is a sorcery. So sorceries get played on your turn, as opposed to instants, which can be played on your opponent's turn as well. If you have some tricky stuff with instants you can do. So they're going to pump up their creature, and this is going to make that creature a plus. It's going to give it +4/+4, so it is now an 8/8. So because I only have 7 life, I have to block this. So this creature has 8 damage, that would kill me. So I'm going to choose to block it with my Shrine Keeper. Okay. So there we go. All damage was blocked. My creature got in the way, and that does not hit me. So now we have a sorcery that we can play. For 1 and a white, we can destroy target tapped creature. And remember, tapping is turning your card sideways. Lands will tap to produce mana. Creatures will tap to attack. So we can destroy target tap creatures. So let's play that. And we're going to choose to destroy the Rumbling Bailiff. Sweet. And now we clear the way for our Loxodon. So now our opponent's at 1 health, and we are at 7. They are summoning a few more. Here's another sorcery spell. 2 and a white. Tap all creatures your opponents control with toughness 2 or less. Our opponent's creatures both have toughness 2 or less, so this spell will tap them both, which means they cannot block. So let's go ahead and tap them. Okay, and now they cannot block, and we are going to swing in with our Loxodon, and this is going to win us the game. So that's kind of how Magic works. You play your lands, you tap those lands for mana, you use that mana to either cast spells or summon creatures, or put artifacts and enchantments on the battlefield, etc. And all of these cards have rules text on them and different keywords that will determine kind of how they work. Different cards have different triggers as well. So here's an example of a card. It costs 5 mana to cast, so 3 of any color and 2 white. And then it's a 3/4 creature, 3 power, 4 toughness. And it has an enter the battlefield effect. When Spiritual Guardian enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life. So the cool thing about Magic is with all these different cards, there are different color combinations you can go through. And here we'll play through one game. And this little tutorial is going to teach us the different mechanics of Magic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play out this game, show you how that works, and then in the next videos, we're going to talk about kind of what you should do after these tutorials, the jump-ins, the color challenges, etc. So this creature has haste, and haste is a keyword that means, remember the summoning sickness? Haste means the creature's not affected by summoning sickness. It can come in and attack immediately. We'll drop our land for turn. Okay, another haste, so we're going to take 2 here as both of these. Oh, geez. It's quite a bit. So we're going to take 3 because we can't do anything. We have no spells to cast, and we have no creatures to block with. So now we're going to play our first creature. Okay, and we can choose to block. So what happens here is these are 1/1s, and I'm going to just choose to block one of them. So I click my Shrine Keeper, click this, and we will confirm our blocks. Okay, and magic happens in, there are phases to every turn, and they're shown down here. You don't need to really be too aware of them to start, but I'll walk you through them anyway. So upkeep is we untap all our lands and creatures. Then we draw a card. Then we play a land. So now we're on our main phase. So we play a land on our main phase, And let's see, we have this 1/2 cat and this Shrine Keeper. So we can actually summon both. So let's summon the Shrine Keeper. And let's also summon the cat. And now we can choose to attack. So if I were to attack with this 2/2, it could easily be blocked by this 3/3. And I would lose a creature and they would not lose anything. So we're not going to attack this turn. Okay. So now we got some blocks to figure out. So we're going to block here, and we're going to let this 3 go through. Now there is such a thing as double blocking, but I'm not going to, that's a little more advanced. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a goblin. Goblin Grenade deals 5 damage to any target. Okay. So they're throwing that goblin at me, and I am down to 6 life. Play my land. You always generally want to play your lands. Okay, and we attacked with all our creatures that turn because they had no blockers. Okay, this has an enter the battlefield effect. So if I were to hover it, when Goblin Gang Leader enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. So when this entered the battlefield, he got to create 2 tokens. So we're going to play our planes, and now we get to cast our Spiritual Guardian. So we're going to gain 4 life here, which is nice. Now we could swing these in. And yeah, let's do that. Okay, so there are some blocks happening. When Ogre Painbringer enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to each player. Ouch. Alright, we get to cast another Spiritual Guardian. Now, we're going to swing with this Spiritual Guardian here because if he chooses to block, we're going to deal 3 damage to the Ogre Painbringer. And it's going to deal 7 to the Spiritual Guardian. But they will both die. An opponent, if they were smart, would probably keep this up because it's a big threat. But we'll send both of these in and actually see what. Oh, we'll just send that guy in and see what the opponent does. Okay, so it doesn't let it through. Now this thing's gonna hit us for 7, and we have a choice. We can do what's called a chump block, which is just throwing a creature in front. So I don't want to take this 7 damage. I'm gonna just throw this cat in front of this ogre, and that ogre can eat that sanctuary cat up, and we will not take any damage there. So now it's our turn. We can destroy target tap creature, but at this point the opponent has 2 life. We're just going to move to the next phase, which is combat, and we're going to declare all of our attackers, and the opponent can't do anything. So that's a bit about how Magic plays out. It's a really fun game. There's a lot to be learned. There's a lot of fun in drafting and sealed and crafting decks, and you'll see that as we go through the channel. This is a brand new MTGA account, so you'll get to see me kind of progress through this account. Um, and I'm going to just play through the rest of this tutorial. You'll see we got some cool cards, some enchantments, which let us kind of buff our creature permanently unless something destroys these enchantments. But you'll see here, enchanted creature gets +2/+2, or enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and flying. And the nice thing about MTGA is if you hover a card, you'll see on the right-hand side, there's a description of flying. A creature with flying can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach. And these are enhancements on the card. So when you play a creature, it might say flying on it, which means that it can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach. And reach is also one of those keywords. You might play like a 1/5 spider that says reach on it, which means that spider can block flying creatures. So I'm just going to continue through this. I'm going to stop the video. If you guys like this video, if you have any questions about MTGA or Magic in general, if you're interested in learning more about it, please leave a comment below. I will be answering all of you. And feel free to follow, subscribe, and hit the little bell so you know when new videos are coming out. Anyways, thanks all. This has been Tinkerer's Workshop, and get to tinkering.